And he says the one thing that Thomas Harley is not short on is confidence in his ability.
Yep.
And he stepped right in tonight, or not tonight, the other game too, but he steps right in, and there was no moment that was too big for him. And the one thing he did is he played to his strengths. You know, he was up and he got involved offensively, and he tap danced on the offensive blue line like he normally does. You would think, and the same thing with Sanderson. I mean, you can say it about both of them. But they didn't try to just kind of stay back. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They weren't playing to make mistakes or not playing to make mistakes, which is great. I mean, but I know that a lot of players would go there and you're with all these big names. Thomas is what, 23, 24 now? Sanderson, 22. 23. And you're kind of surrounded by some of these, some of the greatest players on the planet, and you don't want to be making a poor decision at the wrong time. And for Thomas, he stepped right in and played the very same way he did here, and he ultimately created a goal for the U.S. on that, or for Canada that on that first one.
Go ahead and break it down.
And this is the one here. And really, I mean, when what Thomas did here is he gets the puck and he spots MacKinnon down near the goal line, and he makes an immediate pass. But then what he does is he takes off like we see him do. This is kind of what I'm talking about. A lot of young defense, when they would back off here, in case there's a mistake, a bobbled puck, you want to be back. Well, Harley takes off, and what he does is, it's Brady Tkachuk again. Tkachuk sees him take off, and so all of a sudden the coverage is like, oh, wait a second now. Am I supposed to have this guy as their little give and go here? Maybe they're playing man-on-man. I don't know. I'm just saying. But there are coaches on that bench that play that way.
And coaching the defense, by the way.
Same thing. So anyway, but he opens up a little bit of space here, MacKinnon. He buys him an extra second. MacKinnon sees that there's a bunch of traffic in front of Hellebuck, and all he does is he just finds a lane. He throws it to the net and ultimately goes in. But if it wasn't for Thomas, with that play right there, that probably doesn't open up like that, and MacKinnon has to get the puck off his stick. And again, MacKinnon was a scoring machine through this short little span.
Let's talk about Harley for one more second, at least here. Allie wrote, because somebody else in the chat before then, it's a Gallagher champ, was saying the TV guys kept S-ing on Harley, using a word that we're not supposed to say on the air. Allie said, why were they S-ing on Harley? Canadian broadcast was praising him. And I wanted to address that real quick because I get the hunch, Luds, that even though Thomas Harley's not a rookie and he's been in the NHL with Dallas for a couple years now, that the broader coverage isn't as familiar with Thomas Harley, at least on the ESPN crew tonight, than perhaps some of the others. And I think it was coming more from their studio show than it was their broadcast team.
Yeah, like I said, in the first intermission, when Messier and PK were talking, I think what happened was they just kind of shut up really quick. And so there was this awkward space there. And when he says, Thomas Harley looked like he was having a hard time out there, we'll keep an eye on that. And I was like, well, I didn't see a hard time out there. And then you look at the minutes, and he had played 7 minutes or something like that in the first period. So I don't think that Canada was too worried about him. So, yeah, I think that when you don't know a lot about a player, you just kind of throw stuff up against the wall. And if you don't do your research and you don't know who a player is, you got to watch him and you got to call people and find out he's a very confident player and his strength is this, this, and this. And he, like I said earlier, he played to his strengths, but there was no point in any of the two games that Thomas got into that I felt that he was in over his head and there was something out there that he couldn't handle.
Players that played more than Thomas Harley in this game: Cale Makar, Devon Taves, Connor McDavid.
Anybody for U.S. play more than Harley? Are you talking about Canadians?
Yeah, there were.
Talking about Canadians. I was talking about Canadians. Yeah. Sorry, there were three or four guys that played on the U.S. more than that. But I mean, just looking at that roster, the fact that he plays that many, I thought I kept seeing him, and it felt like he was out there a lot. There you go, third most minutes.
Well, maybe you fell into the trap that Luds did, was he kept seeing Parayko's 55 and thinking it was Harley out there.
Well, no, that too. I kept seeing 55, and I was like, whoa, they heard. But then there was the other time. There were a couple times, as you know, their broadcast isn't always the best, but there were times out there, and I'm like, oh wait, but it was actually Cale Makar sometimes. Just not a lefty-righty kind of thing, just the way that Thomas moves around and Makar moves, which is a compliment.
And they both had an 8 on their back.
Yeah, so. Again, we like Thomas Harley. We like him a lot, but I love the confidence that he had in this event.
Do you guys think, I'll ask both of you, so we'll start with Sam. What do you think this does? We know that Thomas doesn't lack for confidence. right? Doesn't. But this being on the senior men's national team for Canada, not the juniors, which he has played before, but the full big number one Team Canada, Hockey Canada roster. It's got to be, I mean, even a guy as confident as Harley still has to maybe take a step because of this experience.
Yeah, it makes him feel good. I don't know. Maybe confidence isn't even the right word. Maybe that's not what he gets, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him get rolling a little bit. You know, he's been great all season. We saw him explode for the goals he scored last year, a couple of overtime winners, and I think the same week. I wouldn't be surprised to see, especially with the Miro Heiskanen absence, Thomas Harley start putting in a goal every 3 or 4 games here coming off of this, because you just have to believe 100% in your abilities. And Luds, before you broke that play down, I was going to say the exact same thing about Harley. That play when he set up MacKinnon, that's a huge risk play. If that puck gets bobbled, if he loses that, the fact that he's cycling and switching spots with MacKinnon, that could easily be a 2-on-1 or a breakaway the other way. And that the ability, the skating, the confidence, everything you can say. I mean, look where he's going there. He's leaving MacKinnon all by himself back there if that puck gets jacked. So I just think that the sky's the limit for him. And the craziest thing is, you said he was 23, and that shocked me, because for whatever reason, I mean, I feel like we've been talking about Thomas Harley for 10 years in this organization. You know, whether from elite prospect to, you know, the next guy. Oh, he's here a little bit and then he's back, and that it just feels like he's been here for so long. And the fact that he's 23 years old is just absolutely wild.
Yeah, you know, Sam, I think the next time you talk to Thomas, we tell players a lot, the younger players, that they come from the U18 level and they go to the junior team and they're going to get in a game or two and they're going to come back. And when they come back, I'll always ask them, like, how was it? And a lot of them will say it's easy. It was easier. And the reason that it's easier is now they're playing with players that are a year or two older, playing at a different level. They're in the spots where they're supposed to be more often than the, you know, same age guys that they're playing with, and it should be easier. But I'm wondering that playing with this group of guys, you know, all of them are great players at this event. I would think that it'd be the same thing, but you have to make your decisions faster because they get into spots and they lead those spots because they're at another level than, you know, 600 other players in the NHL sometimes. So now for Thomas, I'm wondering, did he have to adjust to them being there and then being gone? Like, I had to move things a little bit quicker, even quicker than some of my normal guys that I play with on a nightly basis, that all of a sudden the MacKinnons and the Crosbys and, you know, all them kind of guys and Makars that you're playing with, like the lane is right there. I got to get it to them because they're expecting me to get it to them because they're going to the next spot.
They're gone. And the U.S., I was just going to say, they're gone on your own team, but then you're also playing against the fastest and heaviest forecheck you've probably ever seen in your career, right? So I'm really curious to ask, since we didn't get anyone, but I mean, Harley was the only one who played in the Canada-U.S. game. Ottinger obviously was on the bench. So I'm curious to see what he says the speed was of that game, because it looked just so fast and we were far away from the ice.
I would guess he's going to say, oh, no problem. It was fine.
Well, he's playing with Drew Doughty. I'm sure that wasn't a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Well, that's different. He's like, that would be like Zuby looking at me when he's got some of them other guys. Zuby would look at me and go, no, I got better options. He's probably looking at Drew going, oh, he's a slower, older guy just coming off an injury. I can make a better play and get it someplace else quicker.